Hello and welcome back to the 14th episode of the Tower Sports Advising Podcast. Today's special guest is Cody Kauffman, head baseball coach at Rhode Island College.
Zach, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
No problem. Good to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a long time, Cody.
Yes, it has.
All right. I want to start by diving a little bit into your playing career. Freshman year at UMass Amherst, appeared in 14 games, first 2 college hits against Boston College. Sophomore year at UMass Amherst, appeared in 17 games with 8 starts. Transferred to Franklin Pierce junior year. Junior year at Franklin Pierce, played in 51 games with 50 starts. 2009 NE10 regular season champs, NE10 champion, NCAA championship East Regional host. Senior year at Franklin Pierce, started all 61 games for the Ravens, served as team captain. Hit .331, 70 hits, 17 doubles, 1 triple, 3 home runs, 29 RBIs, a .436 slug, and 387 OBP. Second in the NE10 in assists with 154. Fourth in doubles with 17. Sixth in hits with 70. Seventh in total bases with 98. Tied for 28th in the nation in hit by pitches with 17. Led the NE10 in hit by pitches. 2010 NE10 championship finalist, NCAA East Regional champion, NCAA semifinalist. Awards won that year: Rawlings East Region Gold Glove team selection, NCAA championship East Regional all tournament team selection. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy you said that because usually I was just a part of that team, not really a dude on that team. So when you said, I was reading them yesterday, I was saying it to Amanda, my wife, because she played and she was very good at Franklin Pierce for soccer. So I always joke that she was more talented. I'm reading them, I'm like, I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But then when you look at the other kids on the team, the stats those guys had, it was like, yeah, I just blended in a little bit.
All right, diving into the first question. After playing your college career for UMass Amherst and Franklin Pierce, what were the big takeaways for you in your playing days?
No, I was reading that. It's a good question, man. I mean, the biggest thing for me, 2 very different places at that time. They're very different now. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been 15 years. So it's been a little different. My coach at UMass was a great guy. It was Coach Stone, kind of an older guy. He'd been there a while. He'd had a ton of success. And then I transferred from there. Originally, it was just because I was trying to go closer to home. I'm from Philly, and then it kind of, I wanted to go, so I really want to go somewhere and win. So when I ended up at Pierce, is just very different. Being from Pierce, you go there, drive up there. It's like almost like I used to joke around. It's like a time warp. You cross the line, and you're like in a different place, and it's very different than anywhere else I'd ever been. I remember going. I'll never forget driving up there. I'd already set up the visit and everything like that. I was playing summer ball. I'm in the car with my mom and dad because they're driving me up. And my dad, coached high school football. So he did the recruiting thing for 30 some years. And we're driving up and I saw a guy with a plow on in July and we're going in the woods. And I turned to my dad. I was like, there's no chance I go to this place, right? And he's like, you already told the coach you're going to meet him. You're going up there. You're going to meet the coach. And I was like, I am just the right way. I was like, absolutely. I was like, yeah, no doubt. But I'm not going here, man. It's plows in July. That doesn't seem like a place I want to be. And then you get there and I walked on campus and I was like, crap, I think I'm going to end up going here. So went there, and playing experience wise was 2 very different just because I played at Pierce. But the competition was, I would say, when I went to Pierce, you transferred there, usually you think you're transferring down from D1 to D2. It was even more competitive. I transferred there and it was like, I don't know that I'm going to play. I remember showing up the first day. The first weekend was always tryouts when we had a JV team. So there's 100 kids. I was on team 4, of 4 teams in the scrimmage. And I'm like, okay, this isn't a great setup for me. They just won 3 straight regionals, and, it was kind of awesome too. Cause you get there. I mean, not now looking back, it was awesome. During it, I'm like, did I make the right call here? I was trying to go somewhere and play, and it made me better, cause you had to just go there and you had to compete literally every day, to be able to not only just be on the roster, but to play, so I was fortunate, and playing experiences wise, it was just very different because I didn't really play at UMass. So that made it harder. But when I went to Franklin Pierce and played every day, it was definitely a better experience that way.
I think so Stone was there when I did my recruiting trip.
Okay.
I remember very vividly the moment of I went, obviously, my dad, I went with him. We were sitting down and they're like, we're going to go to a basketball game. I'm like, Dad, I'm not going here. This is a city. I don't want to go here. This isn't for me. I remember my first time going to Pierce was my freshman year. I think it was Walshy's freshman year.
Like,
And then they were obviously the guys would help out with when you would do the showcase. And like obviously, so I played Walshy in high school. That was technically our rival when he was at Plymouth North.
yeah,
Like we'd play, you'd either play him in the state finals, and then once I got to Auburn High, we added them to our schedule. So like I kind of knew Walshy at that point, and I was like, this kid's huge. Like
yeah, man.
Walshy's, I think he's a freshman at this point, or yeah, it had to be. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm just a small freshman, and it's like even those showcases, there was 100 like
Yeah,
there was what it is nowadays back
yeah,
then.
yeah, it was stacked. There's definitely crazy talent, man. There's kids that came to camps when I was there. Like my shortstop for Rick that just played for me and was amazing. He used to come to the camps at Pierce. And I remember when I first got the job, I was talking to him. I was like, I remember your name. And he's like, yeah, he used to come to the prospect camps at Franklin Pierce. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Just so many kids you see over the years. There used to be a ton of kids at those things, man.
Dude, I found, I mean, it was well after college, but I still had that recruiting sheet.
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Chambers did mine, in all
Okay.
honesty.
Yeah. No,
So
I used to take my time with those. That was the first thing. That was the best part about learning from Kinger. Like you had those things, I valued them because I was always that kid that went to camps before it was like the thing to do was go to camps. But, my dad had me going to those camps. Like when I was really young, I'd pick schools that I like were dream schools, of course, like freshman. Like I would go to East Carolina camp, Coastal camp. And it was just like, my dad was like, you got to get seen. You go there and like, you want to see the coaches will see you. If you're good, they'll like you. And if you're not, then it's not a fit. They're not going to like you and you just move on. And that was kind of the thing I did. But Kinger would be like, dude, give them like honest notes, man. Just be honest. Like write exactly how you feel respectfully, like clearly, like you're not just going to write things good and bad. Like you just write it how you feel. Be brutally honest with the kids. Cause like they came here to know where they're at, and just give it to them the right way. Like don't write something like just to write it, have a little thought into it. So that was the coolest part about when I first started there coaching wise is like, seeing how much like every time you had a prospect camp, it wasn't just I would repeat the exact same things over and over again just to get them done. It was like, no, you get 5 or 6 guys, and there were so many coaches that you only had eyes on 5 or 6 guys, which is great because there's 100 kids. But even him, like he would be throwing BP, and then he would stop if it was his kid and like just take notes. Like I always valued that, and I think that's what helped me too, coaching wise, is just how much time we took in even just those camps.
I think the craziest part that I remember too is like, and this is crazy to even think that I remember this, but the right before the notes part at the bottom was like, where do you see your projectability? And it was like D1, D2, D1, D2, possibly. Like it's just King was like we said before, he was so ahead of his time of like that honest feedback is I personally think is what's missing today.
Yeah. I mean, because even too, like, I mean, I'm sure if I went to one of those camps when I was, 130 pounds as a sophomore, probably would have been circling D1 on there. So like, it's also another way of like, hey, this is where you're at right now. And that like he used to make that abundantly clear when we wrote these. Like, yeah, you're a sophomore in high school, and you met with the kid too after. Like, so you had to write these notes, and then you were face to face with the kid talking about the notes. So it wasn't like you just wrote them and then you just hand them out, or you just nowadays they're on an app. You never need to see the kids or anything like that. But back then it was like I had to hand the kid the note and like actually personally tell this kid what I wrote on there. So, it was good. I mean, it was you were coaching too, but also B, like it taught you right away, like to have a little bit of accountability for what you're saying. And like, you better believe what you're saying and be honest about it. Cause if I'm trying to spew nonsense out to a kid during those things, it's like, it wouldn't have made them any better or myself. So it was good. It was good.
I think the best part too is that like what's missing today is that face to face, and it's like
So
that what for me as a player, and obviously I don't think it was you at the time. No, it could have been, but it's the fact of like the recruits don't have that face to face anymore. Like you said, it's the I'm on a phone, I'm on an email, I'm on a phone call. Like it's great, but like you find more in that coach of having that face to face conversation. Like I tell kids all the time, you're buying the coaching staff. You're not buying the school.
yeah, no, that's the biggest thing is like, that was the biggest selling point when I was at Pierce too, but that's more, I think it's even more for me now, the importance of having kids that like want to be there. I think I learned that at Pierce, but like, you kind of had to have kids that wanted to be there just based on where it is and what we're about. But it was also now I figured out that like as a coach growing from there and going to other places and now being at Rhode Island College, when I meet kids, I want them to want to play for me because if they want to be there, and what I mean by that is like I want them to see all different schools. I want them to visit all different schools. I don't want a kid to just visit Rick and then not go anywhere else and not meet any other coaches because I want them to know that that's where they want to be because then it's a fit. Like you develop way better when you meet like you're like I want to play for this guy. I believe in what he's doing. Like clearly, obviously, the school has to check all the boxes. Like what your major is it affordability, and like all those things first, and then you meet the coach and you're with us, and you meet me, and it's like this is what I believe in. This is who I am, and I want you to fit for me, and I want to fit with you. Because if it doesn't work out, then the development doesn't happen because there's not enough buy-in. And I think that's really important. And I think that was always what I learned again. You go back to Franklin Pierce and like I'll reference back to Franklin Pierce because that's where, I transferred there. I ended up, kind of, it's like family and it's where I grew up as a coach, as a person. So for me, and I just felt like we had a lot of success. So it's like, why not, try and do things similarly? I mean, the guys that I learned from there have been nothing but successful in the sport. So you just try to learn and pick up things. And the biggest thing for me was learning that you want people to be there because they want to be there. And especially Pierce, like you can't end up there because then you're just not going to stay. It's not, you just can't. Like for me, like I ended up having to choose that place because if I didn't choose that being from Philly, like it's far away. It's not like it's close to home. And it's like, it's very different than where I grew up. So like going there, eventually it was like you felt in your heart, like this is where I want to be. And that was why it worked. Is like there's ups and downs, man, wherever you go. And you have to want to be at the place and fully believe in what they're doing. Because there's going to be ups and downs. Even when I went to Pierce, it wasn't like I walked in there and they're like, hey, you're the starter. It was like the complete opposite. That's the reason I chose the schools. Because Coach King, after my workout, was like, hey, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I just signed a shortstop yesterday. So that's not going to happen. And I was like, okay. He's like, but second base is pretty open. He's like, but not going to lie, there's three other dudes there. He's like, you'd have to win it. He's like, you're a better defender than one guy, but he's faster than you can hit better. He's like, so that's where it at. That's where it's at. And I was like, all right, sweet. And then I was like, I remember being in the car leaving, like, I was like, my dad was like, I loved it. My dad again was a coach. He's like, I love that. And I was like, you can't be scared of the honesty. And I was like, you know what? I actually loved it because he could have easily been like, yeah, man, you're going to start. And then I show up and there's four shortstops and one's on a full scholarship. And then, three second basemen that are way better than me. And I'm like, what is happening? And then you're just back then I would have been stuck because you couldn't transfer again. So the honesty and just like knowing where I stood the second I stepped on that campus, it made a whole difference. It just made me, believe in what was going on. Yeah. Was it hard? It was absolutely hard because I had to beat a kid out every single day. But again, that's why they won 3 regionals in a row when I was leading up to me going there. That's just how it was. Every day was a battle. Like a captain of our team that year was Corey Muscar. He barely threw. He's the head coach at Duke. It's just every day was a competition just to get on that field. But I mean, that helped.
I think the cool part, especially what you said there, is King always was brutally honest, but there always was opportunity.
Yes.
And I feel like that's like the biggest point there is like he would yell at you right then and there. And again, I didn't play for King. I only know him from everybody else. But
yeah,
there was always opportunity. He was going to find the best in you, whether you liked it or not.
yeah. No, and he was going to tell you how it was too, straight up. You knew exactly. I remember I'll keep the conversations of exit meetings I had and stuff like that with me and him. But shoot, I was named captain like 3 days early. And I mean, our exit meeting before we leave for break. And it was like, essentially I was picking up a center field glove. I never played the outfield in college, but I was like, I need to play. And I don't know where that's going to be. And him pretty much being like, yeah, man, right now you're behind so-and-so. It's like, dude, I just started 51 games on a team that, we had a good year, but by Pierce standards, it wasn't a good year the year before. So it was like, we had to figure it out, and he was going to play the best night. And the kid that I was losing to was a freshman. And I'll be straight up with you. The kid was a better hitter than I was. And it was just like, crap. Like, this is not good. I think this is not good. But I guess, it's like, yeah, I'm still captain. That's cool. But, this kid's a better hitter than me. I remember meeting with Amanda after. I was like, this went downhill real quick. Like, I might not be playing. She's like, well, how bad was the meeting? I was like, put it this way. I've got an outfielder's mitt. I'm going to give that a go.
I never play. He told me, he's like, he goes, I don't need you in the infield. And this is obviously when he left and went to
Yeah.
Army, but he's like, I don't need you in the infield. I want you to come here, but you got to go play the outfield. I'm like, all right, dude, where can I go buy an outfield glove?
Yeah, exactly. That's like kind of the shortstop thing. He's like, yeah, man, because I was trying to play short, he was like, yeah, the only bad thing is he's like, I just signed a shortstop yesterday, so I don't need one of those. He's like, but second base is open. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that works. I can figure that out. I hadn't played short for the last like 8 years, but whatever.
Moving on to the next question. What do you think was the most important aspect of the game that made you so successful at Franklin Pierce?
Most important aspect of the game. I think for me, we talking personally or our team?
You can do both.
Personally, I think what was for me is what I learned quickly is the way, I wasn't hitting as good as we had a lineup, man. The first 2 years I was there. And for me, I realized real quick, the only way I was going to be in there every day was playing defense. My first year, if you look at it, I've had to be in the top 15 in sacrifice bunts. I bunted literally every time I came up. And it was just not once did I go in the dugout and be like, man, why can't I hit? I mean, in my head, I probably thought it, I'd like to get a hack at it. But I also was like, this is what's going to help us win. Like I'm the 8 hitter or the 9th hitter at that point. You're playing second base every day. My job was to take runs, keep runs off the board. I always looked at it that way. Once I kind of looked in the mirror and was like, hey man, like you're not going to be the number one. I'm not going to be the leadoff that first year I was there, which wasn't going to happen. I wasn't hitting because we had a lineup and, you just I was like, do what I can do best. And that was just take runs off the board or keep them off the board, playing good defense and then bunting the ball. And as you mentioned, it's a 1-2 count, 2-2 count, maybe toe the line a little bit. And back then there wasn't as many rules about if it hits you, it could be a strike. So I got hit quite a bit. So personally, it was just about knowing my skill set, knowing what I could do, and just maximizing that to be the best I could be for like our team. Because I knew I wasn't going to be the 3 hitter hitting 20 home runs. It just wasn't my game. Never was. But I did know that like if I was out there playing defense, I wasn't going to make errors. And what I did, that hurt more than a strikeout or anything like that. Yeah, I hated striking out, but like if I made an error, it was like that was what that was what I was bringing to the table. And I felt like I'd let the team down if I made a mistake there. So just kind of tailoring my ability personally to what was going to help us win and knowing this is my role. Like, and just accepting it and being like, I'm going to be the best version of this role. And that's how we're going to win and go to the World Series. Cause that's what I want. That's why I went there. Like, yeah, I went there to play, but I went there because they'd won 3 straight regionals. And I was like, I want to do that. And I remember, that was kind of what I had to do. But, team wise, the reason we were so successful is the competitiveness was through the roof, as we've mentioned already. Just like how much competition was going on without you even knowing. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you walked into practice every day and it was a grueling, 3 hours of just competing against kids. But like you had to come in and bring it every practice. And like you were developing because you knew if you didn't get better, that guy behind you was getting better. And they were just as talented in maybe a different way. Like, for instance, my junior year, the other kid I was probably competing with was, he was way faster and he had a better bat, but he just couldn't feel like I could. So it was like, I gotta catch him in a little bit in something. I'm like, my bat can't be so bad that he has to play. And then, my glove has to be so good that it's not even in a question. And that was just, I think that went for everybody in the lineup. You had your dudes that were, I mean, shoot, guys that were drafted and things like that. But, like our 2 pitcher was, our number 2 got drafted. Well, the ace was like national pitcher of the year before. So it was like they were competing too to be the best pitcher on our staff. And we were just competing all the time. And I think and it was a fun compete too. Like my best friend was the kid that I was competing with for second base. Like he was one of my best friends. I still talk to him to this day, Canadian kid. And we just, we competed and like there was games he would take my spot. Like he started one game I'll never forget because I was like, I'm never going to play again. We were playing Lynn in Florida. I got sad. I wasn't hitting. I was like 0 for 20. It was not good. And he goes in and I'm like, and like usually in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't want this kid to get hit. But I was like, it's my guy. Like I knew he was a better hitter than me. I just wanted to win. And I was like, he's got to go in there. He's got to swing it. And sure enough, like the first at bat launches home run. I'm like, and then in the back of your head, you're like, crap, this might be good for me. Well, we're winning. That's good. And you're fired up, but you're like, and that's just kind of how it's like, all right, well, my bat's got to get better. And And it was like not a stress thing or a pressure thing. It was more or less, I don't know how to explain it. What like I it never felt not confident, or I never felt like there was all this pressure in the world and I was going to crumble. It was more or less like you just knew what you had to do. The job was to be better than the other person. And if you weren't, you didn't play. And there was never animosity because everybody knew what every person on that roster knew. Like, if you're better than that guy, you're going to play. And everybody accepted it too. Like, the players knew who the best players, and they still do. To this day, the players know who should be out there for the most part. Like, they know who works harder. And then they may not say it and things like that, but they know who's earned the spot rightfully. And that's just about the competition that was there was crazy. I think that's why we had success as a team.
I think the best part is the people, again, that have gone to Pierce, that are coaches now, that I've had on the podcast. They say, this is John Friday, quote unquote, is our practices were harder than our games.
Yeah. I mean, I still say that to our guys now. I mean, Coach King used to say it all the time, like when we were there, is like, practices are his time, the games were our time to go out and ball. And it's just, I say that to my guys now. It's like, practices for me. Like, the games, like, the best games are the games that I don't have to, I'm just there. Like, I'm just, rolling my arm. They're going through. I'm not having to call this or that or try and manufacture. They're just playing ball. And like, if you do the right things in practice and continuously do the right things every day, when you're winning, when you're losing, when it's good, when it's bad, just do it and just keep doing it and work hard. Like, and then the game just become for the guys. And that Coach King always made that pretty clear, that like the games, he was, and actually obviously clearly a great coach, but the practices were really where we made our money.
I think the best way I'll say it is you were literally fighting other kids on your team at practice to be able to have that spot.
Yeah.
And then you left, you're all friends again. It's like,
Exactly.
Matarazzo could punch somebody in the face and everyone would be okay with it, because as soon as you walk off that field, we're ready to compete as a team, right? And we're friends, and it is what at the end of the day. But practices were so competitive. I mean, even individuals, like we would do individuals, and it was like, I might not play tomorrow. Like, that's how much better somebody else got than me in that individual.
That was the key. Like, for me, I think I saw crazy growth. That's why I used to be we don't get that opportunity in Division III, which I miss. But my favorite part, like, clearly the games are great. Like, I love the games, but it's different as a coach. Like, my favorite part was the individuals, because it was the true development of like working with guys. And then as a player, for me, the individuals were like, we used to put the groups together, and it was like the top 3 shortstops, or top 2 shortstops, top 2 second base. Like, you wanted to be in that first, like, it was almost a thing of pride to be in that indie group. But then also you're in that group and you're like looking around, you're like, I'm literally competing every single day. Like, it never stops. But it was never in a way that like it was burnout. It was just, that's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you just have to be ready to compete. And that's how all the good programs are. So it wasn't just like, Frank, you walk in any of these programs that win at a high level, that's exactly what any coach would say, or any player that's there would say, is, the compete was there. And same at Pierce, like, the compete was there, and we loved each other like brothers. And that's just how every team that wins, that's how it happens. You have to have that internal competition, and you have to be self-motivated, and you have to have a bunch of individuals that are self-motivated.
I think one of my favorite moments was when we had the short bat, and I think it was me and Octave in the group. Forget, it might have been Friday or somebody else, but it was like, all right, let's see who can hit the furthest ball with the shortest bat.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was a competition.
Right. And it was just like, we're sitting there for an hour in the snow. And I remember, because the field didn't really have that much snow on it, and we were like, can we go outside? Because we were like, I don't want to go in the bubble.
Yeah, no, never want to be in that bubble.
And then I don't think we ever found any of those balls, but
no. I mean, that was the best part about it too, is people were like, oh, you have these great indoor facilities. It's like, yeah, we never went in. Went in.
If it was 32 degrees.
If there was no snow and we could go outside, like rain, that's fine. If the field didn't have snow on it, we can get out on the turf. Like, we went out on the turf, it'd be like 30 degrees, and you guys would be, like you said, you'd be all bundled up, swinging with short bats, snapping short bats left and right. And it's just like, I don't know why I snapped it. I'll tell you why you snapped it. It's 25 degrees out here. A bunch of idiots just throwing rocks, essentially.
But we just wanted to be on the field. We wanted to be in that setting. And in all honesty, that's what we played in.
Yeah.
The first 2 months of the season, it was the same temperature. didn't
Yeah,
matter.
no, it's true.
All right, moving on to the next question is, what was it like being able to be on a team that had a chance to make it to the D2 World Series?
I mean, that was everything to me. That's essentially why I ended up choosing to go there is, yeah, I again wanted to play, but you're like, I thought of it too as like worst case, I go somewhere and I'm not playing. I want to be somewhere that's competing to win. And for me, it was everything. I mean, it taught me things that have helped me to this day, not on and off the field and in ways, just being somewhere that the level, the standard, like it was go to the World Series. It wasn't to win the regular season. It wasn't like, yeah, you want to win as many games, you want to win everything. But at the end of the day, like the end goal was to win there. And it was everything to me. I remember my first summer going to play summer ball after Pierce, it was at the Valley League. And I remember the head coach, great guy, was, going around asking everybody how their seasons went. And I remember he asked me, he's like, Cody, and I was straight up just being honest. I wasn't trying to be like, but I was like, I was not that great, like not a great season. And he's like, what was your record? And I was like, I don't know, we won like 40 games. It's like, and it's like, he's like, it's a pretty good season. I was like, yeah, but we didn't accomplish our goal. And like, it also felt like a letdown that year because they had won 3 straight, and that was the first year we hadn't won. So you kind of felt like, yeah, we really let the alumni down and things like that. So it changed. It meant a lot to be at a program like that because you had the alumni was always behind you, still is to this day. Guys I've never even touched a field with, but you just hear, oh, I played at Pierce in 2002. It's like, oh, it's pretty much like you grew up together. Like you don't even, and I graduated in 2010 from there. So it's like 8 years separate, but you're like, I know exactly how it was, like we won. And that was we were fortunate that I was super fortunate that I was able to go there and be part of the culture, the standard and how it was run. And just, it meant everything. I mean, that was the whole reason I went there is to try to win and win a ring. That was the biggest thing I wanted to do. And fortunately we did in 2010, but it meant a lot to be able to compete like that. Cause you just felt a sense of pride walking around. And, even I'm from Philly, so I can go home and people didn't really know Franklin Pierce, but they're like, my buddies are like, you're going where? Franklin Pierce was like, where is that? I was like, we're like one of the best D2s in the country. Like, that's how I would just say it. It was a point of pride to be like, yeah, we're going to compete for a national championship. And they're like, where's this place? New Hampshire? Like, it was like, being from Philly, they had no idea. So for me, it meant everything because that was like a pride thing. And when I transferred, it was to the point where it was like, I want to go somewhere. And if I'm not going to win, if I'm not going to play, I want to win. That was the most exciting part is just knowing that you had a chance every year and the coaches were going to put you in the right position to do so.
Let's dive a little bit into your coaching career. After graduating at Pierce, I took a job in baseball operations intern with the Cubs from February 2012 to September 2013. Then went back to Pierce as a graduate assistant coach from September 2012 to February 2014. February 2014 was USA Baseball College National Team Coordinator until October of 2014. Then you took over USA Baseball 12U National Team Director, January 2015 to August 2015. After that was the assistant baseball coach and recruiting coordinator at Pierce from August 2015 to January 2018. Then became the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator at FPU from January 2018 to August 2018. September of 2018 was the assistant baseball coach at Brown University until January of 2019. And January of 2019 became the assistant baseball coach and recruiting coordinator at Merrimack until September of 2021. In September of 2021, she had head baseball coach at FPU until September of 2023. In September of 2023 was the assistant baseball coach at UMass Lowell until January of 2024. And in January of 2024, took your current role of head baseball coach at RIC. Wow, what a list.
I was just going to say, did you get a breath in there? Oh my God.
When
you read it back, it's like, I can't believe I did so many moves.
Half of those I didn't even know, if I'm being all, and I've known you for how long?
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's both fortunate and like, it was different back then, man. You're trying to make money. So a lot of those jobs, like the internships, again, I was super young and they were just, I'm going to build my resume. And Coach King was like influential in all of those. I remember the one I was going to leave for is USA. And I remember I'd come back to be the GA and I got the USA one. And I was like, I was either going back to the Cubs to do a different job or do the USA College National Team. And I got the College National Team. I'll never forget this. Like, up Kinger pulled me aside. Like, I don't think you remember. You weren't around when those offices were in the small little offices when we didn't have a club. He pulls me outside. He's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." And he's like, "Dude, you're going to do that job, or I'm going to fire you as the GA." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want to leave the guy." It's like, I was like, "I really don't want to leave the guy." He's like, "Yeah, you can't not do this job. Like, it's the college national team. You got to do it." And I was like, "All right, yeah, you're right." So then did that, and then loved it. I mean, it was incredible. And then you do that. It's just an internship, so it only lasts so long. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do after this. And it was, coach was always a super helpful mentor because I'm like, I mean, what am I going to do after this? And he was essentially like, if you're at a place like that and like at a job like that, like if you do a good job, and you do everything right, like you'll land on your feet with a full-time job. And I was still young, so it didn't matter. But I was married. I got married young. So like me and my wife didn't live together for a very long time in our marriage. So I'm fortunate that she was as supportive as she was. Cause like, I mean, but you're just like, I mean, we got married. I flew in on a Friday from Daytona because I was at the college. We flew in on a Friday. We got married that Saturday. And then I was like, we flew back out on Sunday. There's no honeymoon. She came out and she hung out in the right field beach bar down in Daytona and hung out while I was doing my job. And they pretty much said like, yo, you got these 3 days, but we got a homestand starting Monday. So it was essentially like, you better be back. So I was fortunate she was there, but it was, yeah, you read that off, man. There's a ton of places. A lot of it too kind of happened. The Brown, Merrimack, like ending up there. I left Pierce to take a head job and the school closed. So once that closed, it was like, dude, I need a job. Like I couldn't be out of baseball for a year. Like just for me personally, I couldn't do it. And that was my thought is that it was a done. Like it was going to be closed and you weren't going to be able to coach. So then I had the Brown guys I had talked to and I was like, I'll come volley. And he's like, yeah, no doubt. So then I did the volley and then Merrimack, Nick called me because I believe like Scotty mentioned like, hey, I think Kaufman's just volleying over Brown. So if it pays, and I'll tell you this, like Nick was blatantly honest, was like, yeah, it doesn't pay that much at all. I was like, yeah, but it pays. Like it pays something. And then he had mentioned too, he's like, there's a chance. He's like, we're going Division 1. He's like, it's a long shot. And he was awesome too, because he's brutally honest. Like he's like, I don't even know if this is gonna change anything. But he's like, going D1, there is a chance it goes to full time. And anybody in college baseball knows that if you can like that, especially back then, like a full time gig was all I was trying to get. Like I wanted to get a full time job as a coach and just do what I love and like have benefits. That was pretty much it. So when that was even an option, I remember my wife and I were like doing a pros and cons. And the only con was like that year you had to play against Pierce because they were still D2. And I was like, yeah, it's the only con. And I was like, I can get through that. And I can get through a 3-day series. So I thought. And then you do it. And I took that job. And then fortunately for me, Nick was awesome and it was great to work with. And he fought to get that full time and ended up going full time. Literally, I got the contract the day my wife was like about to go in labor with her first kid. So getting the insurance was like, okay, I'm not going to owe $20,000, which is ideal. So it was huge. And that was kind of why I bounced around so much. You're just trying to catch on with somewhere that paid. And I was lucky that Franklin Pierce was always like home and they like, anything ever happened, or if I was like, hey, I really need to do this or do that, it was always, I remember the reason I went back to Pierce after doing the 12U is I liked the 12U stuff, but it was very operational. Khakis and a polo, not in the dugout, not on the field. And they gave me a ton of responsibility and gave me a ton of leeway. They were awesome. But it just ended up being, I remember running the tournament and it was like a 10U, 11U tournament. And just like the amount of parents that had something to say, I was like, I'm not built for this. I remember calling coach right after that and being like, do you know anybody? Like, I don't want to do this. I want to coach. Like, I know for a fact now that I want to be a coach. Like, I know it doesn't pay as well as the other jobs. And even if I grew in this position, like moving forward, I was like, but I knew at that moment, like, I really want to coach. That's what I want to do. And he's like, yeah, come. He's like, don't look anywhere else. Just come back here. And I was like, all right, perfect. And I mean, right before that year, they were like one of the best teams in the country. So I was like, Yeah, I'm good. My wife is still working at Pierce too, so it was like I was living in Carolina, she was living in uh, Leominster, Mass, and her we both got full time jobs because like the 12U was full time, and she just became like assistant director of marketing. And there's a new president, Franklin Pierce, and he was awesome. And she loved working for him, so we both kind of did it. And we're like, all right, we're both going to do these roles, and by August, we're going to figure out like, am I coming back there because you love your job and that's the way we're going to roll, or are you coming down here because like this is the perfect fit for me? And like she was always super supportive, and she was like, I love this, I love this president. I think this is going in the right direction. And she was very good at what she did. So I was like, on top of like wanting to coach, I was like, yeah, I mean, I think I'm putting my eggs in your basket. That like I want to coach, and I know I'm not financially, I'm never be able to do things that we probably do if you succeeds. And she was really good and loved what she did. And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. So then I called Karen, and I was like, I was willing to go anywhere, coach anywhere in that region and just kind of volley or something. And it just worked out that he was like, yeah, with open arms. And then, I was fortunate to be back there with him before he left for Army. And then I was super fortunate to be with Mike because Mike gave me so much opportunity to just learn by doing. He was great in that way. And then learn by watching him. He's a great hitting coach. He knows what he's doing. He's talking to hitters and working with the guys. And then just gave me the freedom to be like, hey, man, I trust your ability to recruit. So go out and recruit. And I was able to kind of just learn by doing. And he gave me, not a lot of coaches would give somebody that kind of responsibility, but I coached with Mike in 2011 when I graduated. I was like a student assistant when he took over as a GA. So I got to know Mike then. And honestly, the crazy part about it is he actually got me my chance to go play indie ball without even knowing me or seeing me play. But Coach King told him I could play, and Mike knew some people and gave me the opportunity. It was just kind of crazy. So I did that, and then working with him, got to learn that way. So I was fortunate to work with a lot of really good coaches like Barisi and Merrimack, learning how he did things and the organization and the way he runs things helped me a ton. So I was just used to like Kinger does like so much right, but it's also like I needed to learn other ways and see other things. So it was great to be with Nick, but then also the college national team, you're around some pretty big names and you get to see how they work. And you're thinking like, this dude coaches at Arkansas. He's the head coach. Like this guy's going to do some really different stuff. It's like, no, Dave is just a normal dude, man. He's just a worker and it's the same thing. He just works hard and kind of all the same stuff. But dang, man, you're reading that off. There's just so many different places I've been. It brings back a blast. It's for a while there, man. It was like, you're moving every year and you're just like, dude, I can't, I gotta find some. And there's ups and downs in coaching. At times you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. Financially, it's not the most, it's not the highest paying job. You do it because you love it and it gives you a lot of freedom. Got to a point where I was like, all right, man, I got to get a real job here that has benefits and things of that nature. And then, fortunately for me, it just kind of happened at the right time.
Diving into the first question is, can you explain the big differences between coaching D1, D2, and D3 in the Northeast?
I mean, my biggest thing and the difference is, and I know I've touched on this before, but the individuals and the time spent with the guys is very different. And I learned, and I'm learning that still, is like how you maximize the time you get, like because at D1 and D2, you have the ability to be with them in the weight room. You have the ability to you're always with them. So the difference, in my opinion, is like you have to build something where the structure is the guys keep doing it on their own. Whereas there, like we could have kids that are slackers, but they still were there every day because it had to be. So a kid might not really want to lift. Like when it's a D3 and you can't have like mandatory lifts at certain periods, at certain time, you can't be there. Like maybe that kid does slack, so you have to find a different type of kid too. He's got to be very, very self-motivated. And you also have to have the structure of like your guys on the team are always doing that. So they're bringing guys along, which would have happened in most places I've been at, but it's just different at the D1, D2 level, being able to know where they are all the time and be with them. You're just, that's the best part about it, man. I think the relationships for me in college baseball are about being with guys and having the ability to do it. And that's the biggest difference I see just personally, is just the time spent with the guys in helping them develop, as opposed to just being like, hey, you get this much time and then it just stops, and then it just pops back up. Whereas like Division I, Division II, you're with them the whole time. Then you're almost like, hey man, we're probably with you a little bit too much. Like you need to go, you know, go on break, not hear my voice for about a month and then come back. Whereas D3, I think we could benefit from a little bit more
I
time.
think the craziest part of like D3 too is like the NESCACs don't even have a fall.
Crazy.
So like you and a lot of the guys that I know that are in the NESCACs love coaching. So you're gonna tell me that you don't get to see your kids and practice with them all fall and then just
Yeah.
expect to be good in the season? It's just crazy, and it's a lot of things that people don't know that goes like into D3 college baseball. But I think, and we can dive into this part later. I think at some point D3 is going to have to make it a longer fall. I mean, I know they've extended it within the past years, but like I don't see the difference of why they can't have a full fall. I think if you add a full fall to D3, you're going to get more kids that want to play D3 baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. That too. I mean, but it is the idea of going Division 3 is to have a little bit more of that. You have, you're a student first, then an athlete, and there's more time, and it gives the kid the ability to grow in the classroom as well as on the field because you have that time. Whereas when I was a D1 athlete,
There
like
was
you were
no
always just
time.
there was no time. Like you're moving, and, and like it just. But it helps you grow up a little bit too because you got to figure out time management real quick. It's more of a sink or swim. Whereas at D3, it's like we also have study hall at Rick, so it gives the guy not a crazy amount of time, but just enough that the guys that are first coming in get your feet wet, kind of understand what you're doing, what college is like, and then kind of ramp it up. But yeah, I agree with you. I honestly think it would be more beneficial at the D3 level if you to not have like you could have a long fall, but to give us a couple of weeks there where it's just like twice a week individuals. I think it just helps the kids too stay a little bit more engaged. Again, everybody Division 3 deals with the same stuff, and there's really crazy successful programs that have less time than other teams, and that's because they built something great. And the coaches have done such a great job in building things that the structure just it works, and they just know that everybody's going to be where they need to be.
Next question. I know you touched on a little bit. What was your experience with USA Baseball like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was incredible. I was there, and I was fortunate. So much stuff came from being there the first year. So the first year I did the college national team, that was ridiculous. I mean, that was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my entire life. You're there. When I first got there, it was the person before me set up this 350 person watch list. So I had four or five laptops, and I'm watching like baseball all day. And it's not like I'm watching four screens, but what happened is I'm screen grabbing on three TVs, watching this game, charting this game, writing down stats, figuring out who's doing well, watching certain guys. And then this game ends and you just slide that computer over, it becomes a recording. And I'm watching a game that was, happened at this time. And a lot of time it helped me with recruiting because I had to look through the broadcast and it was a lot different back then. Not everything, it wasn't ESPN Plus and everything was a go. You had to find these streams online and all this stuff. So you did all that and, I'd do that. And then on a Sunday, I would put all their stats in and then pretty much revamping every day you're watching games, just watching guys on the list, taking guys off the watch list. I mean, it started at like 350 people and you end up with like 25. So, and it was all freshmen and sophomores or non-draft eligible guys. And, we ended up having a really good team. So that was fun too, but the experience was awesome being able to do all that. And, then you're on phone calls with, Dave Van Horn, Steve Rodriguez, Gary Dembo ended up being he was the vice president of the Marlins at the time. He was the vice president of the Yankees. He was Jeter's like personal hitting coach on staff, and then Rob Childers, who's now in Nebraska, who's the head coach of Texas A&M. I mean, it was a crazy staff. And then not to mention your shortstops, Alex Bregman, your second baseman is Dansby Swanson. I mean, we had Brian Reynolds in that team. We had Caprillion. We had Walker Bueller. It's insane. And then the guys that you left off the list, I mean, there's dudes that were off the list that ended up being all-stars in the major leagues. We had guys, it was just crazy to see like the talent level. And I mean, I was with the Cubs a couple years prior, and that was when we had like Javi just came up. I think my team ended up being like 10 big leaguers on our high A team that year. But you don't know it in the moment. It's a lot different. But then watching the college national team, it's like you're picking kids. Like Kevin Newman didn't make the team. He ended up, he played for Pirates for years. He won 2 Cape Cod League batting titles and didn't make the roster. Bananas. So it was pretty awesome. And then the 12U was even crazier. Like you think like, oh, these kids are only 12. oh yeah, just get the bigger, better kid, like essentially. And it's just our first baseman was Nick Kurtz. He threw our gold medal game. I mean, he's now hitting bombs for the A's. Like, and it was like every kid on that team ended up going to a Power Four school. And Brady House, who was drafted by the Nationals, my third baseman, is crazy. And they're like 11 years old. And you're just like, you grow up thinking like, oh, Little League is what it is, like, because that's all I knew as 12-year-old is like Little League. And it always used to be that kid that was good in Little League was never good. It's like a whole different ball game when you're on a national team. Like the kids that are on this team are bound to be like nasty. And that's why, but the best part about it is kind of preparing me too. Like when you're there, when I was with the 12U team, I mean, it was like win gold or don't come home. Like that, the kids would never know that, but you knew it, because like America's 12U was like, yeah, you go to the world tournament, you win the world tournament, you come home. And that's not just like a standard, that is the expectation. And then, I remember we lost to Taiwan, or no, we lost to Taiwan in pool play. And you're like, crap, like we got to beat Cuba. And the kid's throwing 82 from 50 feet away. Really hope the Deuce show up today. Like we don't beat them, we're not playing for a gold. And then I might be out of a job, and then you play and you win the gold. And I explain it as like, we won the gold. And like, you're excited, you won a world championship. But I was more or less like, whew, all right, thank God we won that. Like essentially you didn't want to be the first guy to not win the world tournament. So that was cool too. It was like, I really enjoyed that kind of pressure because that's what it's about, and then clearly coaching, I coached a couple of teams there too after, and wear it across your chest. There's just nothing like it. Doesn't matter what level or where you do it at any time. It's all top notch there. Every level, every team, the women's team, the 12U team, the 15, 18, it doesn't matter. Everybody is treated like they should be as the national team. And it's pretty incredible. There's special people over there that do great jobs. It was definitely something I'll never forget. And I still talk about to this day. Like that place, it took me to Cuba, it took me to Netherlands. Like I'd never go to any of those places in my life otherwise. So it's kind of crazy, but it was definitely special.
I think so. My last year is in the futures, the year I won like summer hitter of the year or whatever. We played them like the all-star game for the
Yeah.
futures, played them. And it was wild. Like it was Clemson's first baseman. He was, I forgot his name. He was like a first round pick.
Yeah.
He stepped on the base weird. There was like 7 trainers like with
It's
him. Crazy. They flew in a kid that was South Carolina's ace because their ace on the team got hurt. Like,
Yeah.
in warm-ups, so that guy flew in to pitch. Like it was just crazy. But
Yeah,
it's like that it was the closest thing to like big league baseball and summer ball that there is.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, man. Like,
It's wild.
the college national team is a different breed, dude. That was fun. That was a blast. That was a blast. And there's like I said, there's dudes that didn't like our last spot on the roster ended up being like pretty much the kid that was told like, hey, you're never gonna play, but like you're gonna be here, swing it, batting practice, and if something happens, you'll play. That dude's starting the MLB and like borderline an all-star. And there's kids that turn that spot down and are starting the major leagues and all-stars. It's great, man. And they're different. The talent's just different, but also just the way things operate is just different. And it was in a great way.
It's literally big league baseball.
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
It's crazy. All right, diving into the next question. I like to throw in a New England baseball question. For being in New England for the last 10 years, what is the biggest shift in the game that you've seen?
I mean, I think clearly the portal. I think the portal's been what's shifted things. And we were talking about it kind of prior to all this. Is just it used to be like going back on when I was there, you transferred once and like you couldn't transfer again. And, I think that's kind of the whole country. I don't even know if that's just a New England thing, but there's been a shift there. But I also think there's been a shift in the respect, with Northeastern being so successful and UConn being so successful and BC having those years where they had some really good success. And then having all these big leaguers come out of here, even if they don't go to schools in New England, but the homegrown New England teams. I mean, Northeastern was just 40 wins. I think they were like 18th in the country at one point. And it wasn't like they were going to the regional and you're like, hey, I'm really rooting for Northeastern. You're like, that team can win that regional and go super. And same with UConn in the years, and they should have gotten out large this year. But I think that's been the biggest shift for me. Is like, yeah, there's been teams that were good. I mean, I played at UMass. We played the UConns, we played the Northeastern, and we played BC, and the difference now is those teams they were good, but they've progressively continued to be national consideration, and that's what's changed in New England. At least at that part of it is like, I think D3 wise, why this job was so and exciting and enticing to me is like D3 in this region. You got Salves, Endicott's, Wheaton's always good. Eastern Connecticut's won national championships. Southern Maine's won national championship. It was like when I was explaining it to my wife, it was like the New England region is like Division 3 is truly strong. It's like one of the stronger regions in the country. Whereas, and then D2, you have the Snooze and the Pierces and teams like that. And Bentley's getting really good. And Merrimack had some success when they were there. And same with Lemoyne. But it's just the New England teams, in my opinion, it's just shifted. Is that now people are like, Northeast kids can really play baseball. I think that's what's shifted in the time I've been here, just in a good way. Northeast, those teams having successes as a program, but now, I mean, shoot, you watch some of these teams in the College World Series and Coastal and LSU, like they're Mid-Atlantic Northeast kids that are pitching or are playing for those guys. So it's been cool to see that the shift in. It used to always be like, oh, it's this team from the kids from Florida or kids from Southern Cal or Texas. It's like Northeast kids are pretty darn good at baseball, in New England area especially. And I think that's been cool to see.
I think the biggest part there too, and Friday said it on the pod, was like a lot of kids up here don't understand like the different traits that you have to go play down there. That's not saying that kids aren't good enough to play here,
Yeah.
but for a guy like, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before the pod, but it's like they're gonna take a guy in state that can get in state tuition
Yes.
if you are the same as them, because it's gonna save them money in the end. It's nothing against you as the player, but that I think that's like kind of the difference now. As I don't see as many kids leaving New England anymore.
Yes.
I just feel
Yep.
like more kids, like you said, of that homegrown, but it's making New England teams better
Yeah. No,
because
no
kids
doubt.
are staying at home. All right, moving on into recruiting. What's the first thing you look for when evaluating a potential recruit?
I mean, just a tool, tools that you're looking for. For me, it's always just looking for some sort of tool I can work with. It doesn't necessarily, I don't go out there looking for like, all right, I need a 5'10", 185, runs a 6'9", like can hit bonds. Like, yeah, no, clearly everybody that is the best player. I mean, that's the first thing you look for. But for me, I definitely look for something, just a tool that fits our program. Doesn't matter. It could be guys got a crazy amount of speed and I see his swing. I'm like, I like his swing, but maybe it's not as developed as it could be. Or you watch a kid and you're like, his arm's a little bit behind, but he possesses a tool that brings him to a level that's going to really help us out. And then kind of looking at a kid and being like, can I get him to this point with the bat, or can I get him with this point with the speed? Strength's another thing. Like you'll just see kids, they'll gain strength literally just by getting older. It doesn't even like, yeah, I want you to get in the gym and do things like that. But so just seeing kids, and honestly, at this level, I just look for things that I feel like maybe are a little bit behind and not in the development yet. And then finding something I'm like, I think this kid's going to grow and just be outstanding based on this. And I think it kind of just boils down like what your program, what you believe in and what your strengths are and development and how you can develop guys. And then looking at players that fit into that, like can you develop this kid to be what he needs to be? And like projectability for me, it's huge in being able to be like, I watch a kid and be like, okay, he's not where he is, where he's going to be, because I'm not getting a kid that's already at where he's going to be. You're trying to get kids that you can develop help you win games, and are going to be that D1 type talent just based on once they work with you and progress. So I'm just looking for athletic kids too, honestly.
I think there too, I forget who I was talking to about this, but it was recently of kid. We want the kids, as again, coaches have different views and what they're looking for at each position. But I think the cool part of it is we're looking for, especially I know you long enough now, it's like you're looking for the guys that have that upside and that higher ceiling, right? The more raw kids, where I feel like in today's day and world, kids don't like it, but their coaches at the high D1, low D1, high D2 are looking for those more polished kids because they're going to need them to play right away. And I feel like a lot of recruits now aren't understanding that. Whereas when we were there, it was like, you, King, Chambers, anybody, if somebody's raw, they're going to take a chance on you.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot harder because those schools need kids to play right away. But the D1's going to 34, and now recruiting is going to even be more messed up there because everyone that says I'm going D1, like you're not going D1 if you're not as polished as the guys that they already have.
Yeah, I mean, that's made it hard. The portal, clearly has made it more difficult. The roster limit, the portal has made it a lot harder for kids to walk in the pro. Like a guy like myself out of high school, if I played now, I had no shot at going Division 1, none. I was tiny, I was undersized. Yeah, I could run a little bit, but that the coaches nowadays, like you can get a kid that's 2 years older than the freshman that can do that's already developed, and not for nothing. A lot of times too, they're getting D3 kids that have done really good for 3 years, and they're developed into great players. And you've seen it with certain teams; they go in and have a ton of success at the Division 1 level, and so now you're competing with all kinds of that. And for me, it's always been about when we were peers too, it was the same kind of thing. You're just trying to find that raw kid, and you see something, you're like, that just clicks with raw ability and athleticism, and you're just like, once they really lock into being able to do just baseball, and I've seen that to be super successful too. Like kids that are like, yeah, I play basketball, football, wrestle, like do a bunch of stuff. And they're like, is that a problem? It's like, no, man, no. For me, that just shows me that like once you like, A, you want to compete all the time. B, you're just good enough athlete to play those sports. And then once you focus mainly on baseball, like the growth there with your athleticism is through the roof. So you kind of try to find that raw ability when you're looking at the kid and just watching them play.
All right, moving on to the next question. Are you more likely to recruit kids from team camps and college showcases or going to watch them play in like a PG or prospect select?
I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, all of the above. I mean, can I say that? I mean, I know that's like a pretty bland answer. I'm sure you didn't want that to be your answer, but
No,
I
that's that.
I found value in everything. I do find value in prospect camps. Like, granted, like we all run them, but we go to other ones. Like, so, like if you or I's running a prospect camp or Brian's running a prospect camp, like I'm trying to find those and recruit those because like the best kids in Rhode Island are going to go to those, and they're also going to come to art. Like, so I think you like going there because you want to see the kid, you want to be able to see the talent. So the prospect camps are great for that, and I think for the kid, like going to the prospect camp to the school you want, like you're interested in, is massive because like that's you are in front of those coaches, no matter what. Those coaches or those programs are there and they're seeing you. That's the only way to guarantee you're seen by that school is that you're at the prospect camp, whether it be high end schools and the D1s, D2s, D3s, any of them. That's the only way to guarantee that that coach sees you. Because when I'm walking around recruiting, even when I was at Pearson, it was just it'd be me on the road or here where my assistant's on the road too, but like mainly me. So when you're out there and there's 17 games going on at 17 different fields, you're just like, I'm going to go to as much as I can, as long as I can. But for me, I try to maximize it and see as many games as I can. It's a little less targeted and a little bit more like you need to see everything on the field. Whereas like high D1 level, like you're probably just looking at a guy at a certain field. So you can build your schedule that way. For me, it's like I got to see everybody I possibly can because we gotta find guys that are going to end up being able to play for us. But that we can get things like that. So I think from everywhere you see them from everywhere. I mean, it's easier at prospect camps and teams camps because it's like limited, but you also want to see those kids play, and I love seeing the high school games too because the AU games are great. Like you get to see everybody and the talent's great and everybody's very good. But I like to see kids compete in high school and love the playoffs because you get to see kids and just see what their kind of their fire is a little bit too. I think that's good for me. I love seeing the high school games because it just matters a little bit more at high school than it does at some of these AAU tournament. But the tournaments are definitely the talent is outrageous. So it's like those are great too.
I think a key point there too is, well, first of all, I asked that question because every coach is different, right? But I think the key point with it you just said of like going to watch them in high school, like a lot of kids, and by I say kids, I mean recruits, don't understand that like a coach going out of his way to go watch you in high school is a big deal because
Yeah.
one, they're in their season when you're in your season. So it's like, I feel like to a recruit, it's a lot more important nowadays of like, all right, that guy's coming to watch me play in high school. Like this is like a real thing
Yeah.
because back when I played, if a coach probably wasn't coming to watch you during high school, you probably weren't a high on their radar type of kid.
Yeah.
And now it's less common than I feel like when we were kids.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's for me too. It's just like I love to see. I just like to see the like the fight, the fire. Like when you're playing for something that's a little bit bigger than just personal success, because that's just the way the world is, though. Like when if you're going to go play in these AU tournaments, you have to be focused solely on your success because you're playing on these teams and paying for these trips and things like that. Like to get recruited to get the best opportunity possible, and all those programs do a great job of collecting talent and putting kids in the right positions to get recruited. But in high school, you're playing with dudes that some kids are never going to play again. And like your left fielder is probably done after 4 years, let's just say. But it matters just as much to him that you win or you play in the tournament and win the state, and just seeing things like that. You get to see kind of what the guys are built like a little bit too. So that's why I kind of love the high school aspect of it. I try to get out or send guys out the best I can. Like I said, for us, it's not as targeted because yeah, it'd be great if we could target kids and be like, yeah, this kid's, whatever, throwing this. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to go watch him throw that. And then in a month, he's going to, not be interested in us. So it's like, you like to go. I just love to go to these games, especially I go to all the states. And a lot of times, too, I'll go see the guys that we already have committed. For me, I find that to be valuable, too, is just like not letting the kids that are committed. I like to let them know, like, yo, we're still thinking about it. I'm excited to have you as part of the program. So I usually like to start out by going to see all the guys coming in and just getting a peek at them and seeing how they're doing because, they are coming here and, they're going to be part of your program. And I want them to know that I'm just as committed to them as they are to coming here. And the first thing I do, honestly, the first thing I do is I go see those guys in high school before I go out and see anybody else. Just because they're coming, and I preach family here. So like I want them to, to feel like, all right, this guy, didn't just recruit me, and he's just waiting for me to come in the fall. Like they matter a ton to us and to our success. And you also want to see like how they're progressing too.
Next question is, what separates a good high school player from one who's ready at the college level?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's just more polished. I mean, it really is more polished. And honestly, it's just like that confidence. Like if you come in with a ton of confidence and you already have the ability, because if a coach recruits you and these guys, if we recruit you hard at my level and we really want you and we think you can come here and play right away, and compete to play right away, like you just come in with that, you clearly have the talent. So it's just a matter of like, I feel like the kids that come in, I don't want to say scared, but like, excuse me, just more confident, just ready to roll. You're just more mature in that way.
Last question of recruiting is, what's the best advice you'd give to a high school athlete trying to play college baseball?
I mean, you run into kids too. I think the biggest thing for me is like when you're talking to coaches, you can be brutally honest. Like if a kid just texts me and just be respectful. But like if you're texting with a coach or talking with a coach, you're not interested in the school or it just doesn't fit. Like there's nothing wrong with just being like, hey, appreciate you taking the time. Doesn't seem like a fit. And then just like always being open with them about the process is huge because there's a lot of movement too in college baseball. And then there's also with the portal now, it's going to be huge movement. And like you might end up at one school and then be like, hey, I had a really good connection with this coach before. So I think the biggest advice I would give is just go through the process, man. Be open minded, learn, and also be definitive. Like if you don't like, if you're no interest in a school, just move on. I mean, there's tons of schools and finding the right fit. I think the biggest thing is just you just build relationships with guys and see what fits, man, and find the best fit for you. And I think that can be at any level because you may not end up going to one school and then in 2 years you might be. So
I think the biggest thing of what you just said, and I'll kind of relate it to my experience of college, but it was like I didn't close the door with anybody. Like
yeah,
the thank you to the coach, whether you like their school or not. Like you don't have to send them this long paragraph of why you don't like their school. It's don't close any doors. An injury could happen, a coach could leave, a new opportunity, whatever it may be, but you never know where you're going to end up, especially with how bad the portal is now. And
yeah,
again, nothing against the portal, but don't close any doors. You don't know if Cody Kaufman's going to get the BC job next year and you're trying to go to a D1 school. You have no idea. So I think from my view of it, is a lot of kids close too many doors too fast now.
yeah, yeah. That's just the way it is.
But you never know where these people are going to be. You never know.
No, there's tons of movement. I mean, there's always every year there's movement. Whether it's the thing is like the assistant coaches and the higher level and all the recruiting coordinators, they end up moving up or doing things like I was a recruiting coordinator for the longest time, and then I became a head coach. So you kind of go back to their contacts and see what kids that you recruited in the past. It may not have worked out at places they were at, and you kind of just go from there. And you tend to do better with when kids just keep all options open because you just never know, man. I mean, and also if you're just set on one, number next to the division, then and God forbid something happens in your season as a senior or a junior, you just didn't get the recruiting looks that you wanted, and you shut down all these other really good options, and then you're just kind of back to the drawing board. Whereas if you just keep your options open and base it off of like, do I get connected to this coach? Does this place work? Like things like that.
Moving on into development. What's the biggest adjustment most freshmen need to make when they arrive to campus?
I've seen a lot of guys just need to learn like higher IQ, like what's going on. I feel like bunting and things of that nature haven't been taught quite as well. And some of they just need to learn that stuff. Again, I think it just goes back to being a little bit more polished. I think kind of what that has to do with too is like the type of kid we recruit that plays multiple sports is that, maybe when other guys are doing fall ball, they're playing football or things like that. So just teaching them a little bit more of the game and doing the little things right.
I
That would
think
be
the
the big thing.
I think the big point there too, and like I explain to the kids I coach now and the kids I help obviously get into school with like connecting with guys that I know are looking for the multi-sport athletes as we call it of today. Parents will always ask me of like, how do I balance it? And I go, my dad was like the biggest culprit of this, but like football was over and I played football all 4 years, played varsity football. I went 62-1 in high school. Like that was important to me, right? Of playing football because I graduated with 28 seniors of football. Like that doesn't happen. But it's like football practice is over. My dad was waiting at the baseball field to hit me 100 ground balls and take 100 swings.
Yeah.
Like it, I think now's generation of how it's moving too is like there are parents like that and there aren't parents like that. But like the kid needs to buy into it more than the parent does now. And I feel like in a lot of cases of recruiting now, the parent's more bought in than the kid. There are cases where it's the other way around, but like a lot of coaches want those multi-sport athletes. Unless somebody's saying here's 100% scholarship and you can't play football next year,
Yeah.
that's when you hang them up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love kids that play other sports and like, kind of have that desire to make baseball priority when they get to the next level. Like when I was a multi-sport athlete and, I played football and then I even dabbled in wrestling just because it was another sport to play. And like my family was really good at wrestling. I was not, but I did it. And same thing you said, like I did the wrestling. We'd finish wrestling practice. And no, I was so lucky that my parents, would just, my mom would pick me up. We would go to a speed trainer. I got a speed and conditioning coach that I was trying to get faster and stronger. So we would just go there. And then other days I would be going to go take some swings in our indoor facility where I played, just doing that program 3 days a week. So for me, I was fortunate that my parents were just like, it was always too, it was never like, yeah, you're going to do this. Yeah, it was like if I told them I didn't want to do something, they'd be like, all right, all set. Something. You don't have to do it. If they, if I ever said like I didn't want to go to do the speed stuff or I didn't want to do that, like, but I knew in my heart like that's what I wanted to do. So that's just kind of how I feel like that's how it is too. I mean, the kids are still the same this day. It's just different. I don't think there's any. It's approached differently, and it's no fault of their own. It's just how it is now. Like back then, that's really all there was to do. Like I wasn't going and I didn't have the ability to go rip Xbox. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have systems and stuff like that that nowadays is like essentially real life. Back then, it just wasn't worth it to do that stuff. It just wasn't enjoyable. So it's changed now in that there's just more to do. So like you can't fault kids for that as much as you just hope to find the kid that if they're I find that kids if they're that committed to be always doing some sort of athletics like or into it, whether it's doing that or just playing baseball and playing fall ball and doing things like and having a job on the side. Like it's a different way in how kids approach it now, but it's also seeing like they do a ton to just try and be able to do what they want to do. And that's, I'm a state school. You tend to have a lot of kids that have jobs on the side of even when they're here. Like they have job. I have a ton of kids that are working. So like, hey, my class schedule's till then, but I got my job after till here or what? And it's like, yeah, man, no doubt. Like, go work. I love kids like that because they want it so badly, and they're doing things like that most other kids don't have to do.
I think there too, it's those kids, I'm sure, and you deal with it, but it's like those kids need to be held not to a higher standard, but like, you got to tell me when you're working. And I think that's the gray area now of kids are like, all right, well, we have a phone, we have a laptop, we have an Xbox, we have a PS5, like whatever it is. But like, there's either the kids that are going to communicate and the kids that aren't. Because when we played, if you weren't communicating, you weren't playing, you weren't on the team anymore. And I think there's so many outlets now of if you're not communicating, you're essentially the bad guy. But it takes a good coach to understand like what's going on in this kid's life. Maybe he doesn't come from money. Maybe he needs to work to go to college. And you see it more in the media now too of like different you could see a guy at Clemson that's not on a full scholarship that's working at like a restaurant somewhere just to be able to afford to go to school. Like you see those things and the more you see them, they're cool. Like not saying like it needs to be posted on social media, but
Yeah.
it's you don't know what that kid's come through. A good coach does, but not every coach.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the biggest thing too. And I think, I know this is a little off tangent, but that's why I really got into coaching. And my father, like I said, was a high school coach for 35 some odd years in Pennsylvania. And, he started out at public schools, then he went to this private school that was one of the best in the country. And, they'd get kids. And I remember we got kids that didn't come from like money and he would coach those kids and like I still see those guys that he coached. I mean, and it's funny, like now I'm 37, it's a lot different now. But when I was like in my 20s and playing, like those guys would be like, how's little Cody doing? Because I used to be around the field when I was like 5 and 6, and like those guys still come around. And I think that's the biggest thing. And the whole reason I got into coaching is like seeing how those relationships were for my father, like all that time and like helping these kids, all walks of life, kids that come from a ton of money, but or kids that don't come from a ton of money. It doesn't have to be either way. It's just always about like being there for them and like kind of all like helping in their lives in some way, or just being a part that they care enough to talk to you about, when the kid's 30 and he has a family. Like I think that's the biggest thing is just understanding what your guys' lives look like, how it looks like off the field and like what it's like. I think that plays a really big role in the, kids want to be there. Like about half the time when kids come to practice, I'm not the first thing I ask them isn't like, "Hey man, how's your swing feeling today?" The first thing I usually just shooting the shit with them, man, just being like, "Hey, what's going on? How's everything going?" Joking around. I mean, I'm old and I still play video games. I'll be like, "Yo, played the show the other day," like just like it'd be human, man. I think half the battle is like you just got to be human. Like I'm at that age, you're dealing with things. I mean, and I even say it today, like I joke, it makes me sound old. Like I mean, I don't know how I would have been an athlete if there's like we didn't have any like Facebook was just like kind of coming around when I was in college. So like
MySpace, right?
yeah, MySpace was a thing back then. You had that song in your entrance, but it's just like I mean, shoot, man, they're like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. These kids talk about things. I'm like, usually you're like, I'm never gonna be that old guy that doesn't know what's going on. You're like, they'll say a word that's an app, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That sounds like a foreign language. I'm not even that old. Like, but just like it's just hard. I understand the difficulty. So I'd like it to be when the kids get here, you kind of just like the human part of it. Like, I'm not gonna ask you about like I'm not gonna talk about, what's going on in TikTok and crap like that. I'm gonna talk to you about like what's going on in life. Like how are you doing? How's work going? Like and knowing what they do for a job. Like, no, any discounts at Dick's today? You know what I mean? Like just like joking around. I'm like, it's just I mean, that's part of it too. And that's why I got into coaching is those relationships, like talking to guys like you that I coach, and like even just talking the other day to Walshy, just like he has 2 kids, and like now he's like one of my best friends. I coached the kid. It was like my first coaching job was coaching with him, so I was coaching him. But now it's like I talk to him like he's one of my boys. It's just kind of how it is, man. I think that's what coaching's about, and I feel like that's with everything going on, like all the ways to just not be focused and not be engaged, it makes it easier to not have those conversations and everything, and kids just kind of be okay with it. But I think the challenge in coaching now is just having the kids engaged and wanting to be there, right? And like wanting to be on the field. Back when we played, it was easier. Like as much as I want to joke around, like, these kids, these kids don't do what we used to do. It's like, yeah, they don't have to. You know what I mean? Like they have so much to do. We didn't. So you just kind of had to do it. You're going to the field and I enjoyed doing it but I didn't also have, 16 different social media things that you could just kind of get lost in. Now they have that. So it's just a matter of like when they get there, you want them to want to be there.
I think go
It's just relationships. I mean, that's just all it is. You just got you build relationships.
That's where I was going with it. It's like, and you know this, but it's like I'm not going to call you with a guy that I don't think can play for you. And I think that gray area of baseball today is kind of a problem too. It's people lie a lot of like, oh, I know this coach, I know this coach, I know this coach. Like, obviously, I've been around the game long enough. You've been around the game long enough, but like, I'm not going to send you a guy that I don't think can play for you because then we're just wasting each other, both of our times. And especially with the portal now, it's like there's no time to be wasted. The reason I got into coaching is because I don't want kids to have to go into the portal. Yes, if a coaching change happens, you get hurt. Sure, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But like, I want a kid that's going to buy into a 4-year school like Pierce. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want. And I think that's what makes programs better. And again, New England baseball, you've been around it long enough. I grew up in it, but it's like, I want New England baseball to be good. How does New England baseball become good after high school? Kids buy into the programs that are in our area. Like, if they keep buying into what's in our area, there, and I joke around with my brother all the time. I say this, but there's a D3 school every 20 miles, maybe even closer. Like, this is where D3 baseball is good. Again, I never played it. Obviously, my brother played it and won the national championship, which is awesome. But it's like the rise of D3 baseball is continuing, right? Especially here now. And D1 and D2s are getting better, but it's like you got to keep the game moving in the right direction. And I think
Yeah.
with the recruiting, I enjoy the recruiting the most because it's like being a freshman again. Like, I got to help a kid try to find a school. Like, that's
Yeah.
fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Where
it's been a fun process.
Whereas you put me on a field, it's like, I don't want to be your head coach. It's fun, but like, I'd rather help you. You could be the worst recruit in the world, and let's try to find you a school. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe you have to take the year off from football and gain 20 pounds. How do we do it? Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's different ways in talking about it. And we could sit here for the next 5 hours and talk about this stuff. But it's like, it's just the old memories of like, you were my coach. And now we're having a conversation like we're friends. And I mean, you said it with Walshy, but
Yeah.
it's like, I could call you tomorrow and you're going to pick up the phone, but that's the relationship I built with you. And that's how you build relationships in this game.
No, that's the biggest thing. I think jumping back to literally your first question, just the difference in places I played, like that was Franklin Pierce. That's just how it was, man. Like even to like yeah, it's Coach King. Like, am I going to go out and hang out with him? No. But if I like anytime I need anything, like if I have to ask him, he like the first person he'll literally text me back. The dude was just coaching in a regional, and if I was just like, "Hey, what up?" Like, "Great job," like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to respond or talk to me but he does, and that's the thing. Is like that's why I think everywhere I've ever been, and my first thing when I took over at Rick was like, "We're gonna be a family. We're not just gonna do 1, 2, 3 family. Like no, we're gonna be a family. Like it's gonna be." I want them to know, and I told them that when I took over the job. I was like, "I don't want you to buy in right now. Like, I want you to play for me, see how I coach you, and then buy in. Like, because if I'm asking you to buy in before you even know me or how I treat you, like that's nonsense. I want you to buy in, because you want to buy into like me personally and like know that like, hey, this dude really does like have my back, and it's because I learned it. Like that's why I got into coaching. Like, yeah, you get into coaching because like you want to keep extending essentially playing, but you get into coaching because like I want to see guys experience the dog piles I experience. If guys want to play professionally, I want them to get that chance to do it. And if they're just going to play 4 years here and we're going to try and win at a high clip and win conference championship, things like that, and dog pile, like I said, like, and then go on and live lives. Like I want them to have the best life they can, and always look back and be like, that was a blast, man. That was like it was a good time. So I just think the biggest thing is just building the family. I came from it. Like Franklin Pierce was a family. Like there's dudes, like I said, there's dudes I never played with, but I could text them if I needed something and just be like, "Hey, how do you do this, this, and this?" And it's like just because they played at Pierce, I could do that. You know what I mean? Like Weagle is what for a long time. Matt Weagle he coached at Pierce. Like
But yeah,
I never played with Weeks. Like
I know Weeks.
yeah, I never played with Weeks. And then like I coached him for like a season, but like, and he doesn't coach anymore. Like if I texted him tomorrow and with a need, like I haven't talked to him in months, and I guarantee he would be there. And that's what it's about to me. It's just like there's so many dudes like that, and Chambers is like that so much. Like I talk to him all the time, and he would drop everything and help anybody, and that's just what you want to build. I mean, because that's at the end of the day, that's what's lasting. Like, yeah, winning and losing and all the rings we got when we were there and things like that. Like, they're great. I love it. That's what you want to do that and you want the kids to experience that. But I remember as a player, like winning that and dogpiling and all the stuff that goes into it. I haven't worn a ring or anything that we've won in ever, I think. But it's just like distant memory of it being there is what you want.
Moving on to the next question with development. Can you explain how crucial the development at RIC is in your freshman year and how it translates to playing time?
Yeah, development is huge. I mean, because you're coming in raw. Development's crucial for everybody, especially the freshmen that coming in and just learning how we do things and what we want to do. And we're going to give you the ability to develop with our facilities and things like that. It's crucial. It, Playing time is just it's a matter of who the best nine are and who the best arms are. They're going to throw and you're going to play. I don't care if you're a freshman. I don't care if you're a senior. If you come in here and you started for 2 years and freshman comes in and beats you out for your spot, that's kind of how it is. So it's the onus is kind of on you too, and the accountability for the kids to come in and like you have to work. You have to put in the work, and that's just something you got to do. So for us, development is massive. I mean, it's key in everything. And if you look, I know there's 16,000 different jobs I was in, but pretty much every one of them is development. Like when I was with baseball ops for the Cubs, it was development. And the same thing when I was with the college national team, a side job of that was like helping the hitting coach work with some of the like do things for the hitters and develop and help with their development. It's like that's the name of the game. And that's what you see it now, even in the major leagues, like all these teams are trying to put money and dump money into the development side of things. And I think the biggest thing for development for us is always just every kid's different, kind of learning them and then teaching them and helping them develop in their way. Because like not everybody has the same stance or the same swing or the same wind up, and some guys like leg kicks when they're throwing. Some guys like we changed the kid pitching wise this year. He changed to more like Luke Weaver and like almost like a slide step, not a leg lift, and he was throwing better. Like, there's so many different things in development that the key to the kids is just finding what works for them and then continue to just get better. Be open.
I think a big point you made there too is it's like I know you especially, but like I see the more kids that have success in today's world are the coaches that let the kids be themselves. Yes, a coach is going to coach you and critique things and say, hey, maybe you're a three quarters guy. Maybe we need to be over the top. Right. But
Yeah.
like those are things we're going to test through the fall. And I think Goss said the best of like, even with King, it was like, we're going to test it and when you prove me wrong that you can't do that, then we're going to change it. But like, I think a big point with you is like, you're going to give them the chance to do what they want. But then after that, it's like, all right, it's not working. What are we going to do here? Like, you're a good player. We need to fix this.
Yeah. No, and I think another big thing about that too is like when I was I was fortunate enough again when I was with the Cubs, the hitting coach, I told him I was trying to get into coaching. I was going to be a GA after that at Pierce. His name, he's now the hitting coach for the Yankees, J-Ro. And J-Ro was like, just follow me around. And he even said it, the biggest thing for development with these guys is like you have to communicate. Like you have to be able to communicate with those guys. Like he can't fix what he can't feel. So like you need to be able to feel your swing. And I can't fix what I can't fix. So like I can't fix your swing. Just like, yeah, I can look at it and tell you what this, and this. But if I tell you something and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But I could be stubborn and be like, no, it makes perfect sense. Or I can be like, okay, I need to find a new way of communicating to change his swing and fix something. So I think massive thing in development is the ability for the kids to feel like they can communicate with you. Like I'm not going to be one of those coaches that, yeah, I have my ways and I have things I believe in, but like if you come in here and you're like, I'm not gonna be like, this is how you do this and you can't do it any other way. Like it's just might not work for this guy, but something totally different works for this guy. Like I mean, shoot, our shortstop was like his swing was like kind of a teacher man. Like I don't know much about it. And that's when I was at Lowell. There was our shortstop. I was there a short period of time, but like his swing was very teacher man and very different in like processes. But the kid was a 360 hitter that hit 12 homers. Like I mean, I'm not going to change that swing. I need to learn how to help him if he has issues with his swing. So I had to try and learn the teacher man swing. Same thing for our shortstop this year. Like he tried to do it and it worked and he was hitting like 340. What am I going to go up to him like, hey man, I really don't like that you use teacher man even though you're hitting 350. It's like I just got to learn how to teach it. Like I may not agree with a lot of the things kids do, but like whatever feels comfortable for kids, especially in baseball, like you got to feel comfortable and confident in what you're doing because it will beat you down. If kids like feel a certain way about a swing and like to do a certain thing, it's my job to figure out how to teach that swing or like how to critique it and how to communicate with them that kind of works for them. That's what I've been trying. I try to teach kids too in development is like don't be afraid to tell me, like, if we're doing drills and it just feels like it's not right, like, it's okay to say it's not right. I may tell you that you're wrong, but again, but like, and I might not agree with you, but we're gonna figure out a way to get you better. Because it's not my job to sit here and have you not be good. My job is to help you get better so that we can win games. Like that's I'm not trying to make you worse. So I think the biggest thing is like you just want to develop that relationship. They come back to relationships too, because like if you have a good relationship with kids and you can communicate with them, like that's helpful. I mean, when I first came back to Pierce, I remember I still talked to Octave about it. He said the one thing that like it kind of clicked is like when I first got back, I wasn't trying to change kids' swings or mess with anybody's swing when I first came back in 16. It was like I wanted to get to know you and then like learn how you communicate, learn who you are. Cause then when I tried to take the, but I'm like, you know what, maybe try this. And like at least he's like, yeah, this dude knows. Yeah, I get it. And I wasn't just trying to, walk around and be like, I did this or I did that. It's like, no, we're all in the same boat here, man. And to develop you, I need to be able to communicate well.
I think the best coach is the one that the results speak for them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you work with guys and like you want, I mean, any coach will tell you they want the guys to be as successful as they possibly can. And like most coaches aren't going to walk around and be like, yeah, I helped that guy do that. It's like, no, if most kids that succeed at a high level and have a ton of success, it's like no hitting coaches walking around like, yeah, I was this hitting coach. You know what I mean? It's the guys that feel like they need to prove something that you should do. So
It's only the guys that are butthurt about kids leaving in the portal, and I mean it in the nicest way, but like that's like people I've seen it before of especially today of kids are like you got coaches that are like, oh, I made it a swing. No, you're just mad he left and went in the portal.
yeah,
Not saying I don't know the full story of the kids, but like maybe the kid didn't do it the right way, and that's your way of coping and claiming it. But it's like you want these kids to be good kids, right? And well, it starts with you as a coach. And that's like all the coaches I've had as bad as they come and I've had as good as they come. But it's like the people that I still talk to are the ones that are as good as they come. So follow something that they're doing. And it's like I'm still gonna refer kids to those guys.
yeah, no, that's the biggest thing. Is like, I mean, somebody said it to me one time. It was actually a younger coach that I played with that ended up coaching him, and he was like, yeah, like why do you try to copycat with like do things that King did? It's like because it worked, like it works, and it's not even just like doing it his exact same way. It's like, you just got to bring the foundation of it, like build relationships, be able to communicate with kids. Like he was very good at all those things. And like, you love him or hate him, but when you played for him, you loved him because you knew at the end of the day, like he cared about winning, but like he helped you get there. And that was the biggest thing for me that I'd takeaways from him. And then same with Chambers. Like Chambers, it's the same exact way. Like he cares about these guys, like sometimes to a fault. Like he cares so much that when you learn from that, and then every good coach that I've been around a lot of good ones. I've been with, Barisi's a great coach, Chambers is a great coach, and King was a great coach. And the underlying factor, the one thing that all of them have in common is they care about the guys that they have, and that's it. I mean, if you, and like it's easy to say, but you got to. It's also like you got to communicate with kids and get to know them and just be able to communicate and like build relationships with guys. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful. And the relationship's not going to be successful. Like he's not going to listen to what you're saying. And there's going to be kids that like, I mean, shoot, I've coached kids in the past that I probably to this day probably be like, yeah, no, I didn't really get along with them. And and that's just how it is. It's life, and like there's kids that I probably coach. I was like, I don't know. I can never figure out like how to help them. Uh, it just kind of is what it is.
All right, moving on to the last question of development. What's a key thing that you guys do at RIC to improve the development of your players that you might have learned from your playing career that helped you?
That helped me. I get freedom. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like freedom. I guess the easiest way is to talk about like kind of like on like what it would look like for our hitters in a day. We have a hitting barn, which we're super fortunate. It's beautiful. It's right next to the third base dugout, and we call it the barn. It's just an indoor hitting facility, like 3 cages, turf. So we do early work pretty much every day. Like when we're practicing, clearly, and if we have a practice day, we do it on practice days, not non-practice days. But like when we have a practice, for instance, we'll do our early work. I'll set up like 3 hours. I'll put a Google sheet out. Let the guys sign up for groups. I like to keep the groups within like 5, keep them pretty tight. Then the guys will come in the first like 5 minutes. We do all our activation stuff, like what we're gonna do, and then we do the next 5 to 10 minutes is like like tee work. I don't hover. I don't sit up there. We have the music blaring in there, and I always tell them like this is your time to work on what you need to work on. Have a routine. and like feel your swing. Like it's your swing. It's 100% your swing. I'm not stepping the box and hitting for you. So I need you to know what. And then I like to watch and like I'm never gonna go, and I never go up and like, hey, you should do this drill, or you should do that drill. Like I'll talk to them after and be like, hey man, why were you doing that drill, or why were you doing this, just to see how what their thought process was. But I like guys to have freedom, and I think that's helped with development is like having the freedom within their swing. And then I do have certain drills that I like really believe in that we'll do, but that's like, I mean, that's not many drills. And then I'm changing all the time. Like I see stuff that I like and I just do it. And I really believe in progression. So like you start off the tee, then you do your front toss, and then you might do an overhand toss, you might do an angle toss, and then you get into the BP. And then with the BP, you also have some velo or some machine. Like I really believe in progression. I do that same stuff. I progress the same way with defensive positions. When you work with positions and pitchers and stuff, it always starts in a progression based model, just so the guys understand how important it is to start the foundation and build up. So with the early hitting, we just do that. And I think how we've seen a lot of good development is just kids having the freedom and then tinkering with it, working with them. And again, it goes with the communication and then doing certain drills for certain guys too, not just feeling like, hey, we're all going to do this drill or this drill. And then like trying to split up the group so that these kids do this. And you try to group it as much, but if you keep it to 5 or 6 guys for us with the early work, you really get to just like kind of do like, I'd be like, all right, man, I want you to do this and see how this feels. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't, you move on to something different. But I do believe in like being innovative in a way that, I'm always watching other coaches' videos. I mean, all the good coaches are good at plagiarizing. That's just what we do. Like we find a drill that works. Like a guy, you can say any program, but a program's doing something and you see it and you're like, oh wow, I really like that. That you use it. And like you just use it. And like I think the issue is like if I just was closed minded, it's like, nah, I don't like it because I didn't come up with it. It's like, well, that's just nonsense. So like that was the biggest thing for me. Again, too, is just being around so many different hitters in my career and so many different ways of coaching. You just kind of learn that the biggest thing for kids' development is just developing with them. Like I may not have seen a drill this kid's doing, and then I start like looking it up and watching coaching videos and things like that, and you tend to like it.
I think the biggest point you made there is like for you to do your job is kids have to fail on their own. And I think good coaches let kids fail on their own so they can do their job. Like, because especially in today's generation, like, again, we have all these outlets, right? And it's like more than ever, you've seen like, all right, well, this kid hit 160, right? Sophomore year. Now he's going to ask his coach, well, what does he need to do to stay in that lineup? And then he goes to summer ball, coach gives him some advice. He might do some summer work, whatever, comes back in the fall and he's a totally different kid. So I think a lot of it, again, is coachable kids. But I also, the way I look at it now is like when I played, right? If you were the kid that talked, you were probably labeled as uncoachable, depending on what school you were at when you were younger or when we played. Now it's like coaches want that. They want the feedback. They want to be able to teach you how to do things. But there also goes back to the respect manner of you have to do it the right way.
Yeah. No, I think that plays a key. But that's also like that's what these kids need to learn. Like I'd say kids, but myself included. Like that's what you need to learn in the real world. If like you go somewhere and like you just said, like if I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and then somebody tells me something, I'm just talking and talking and talking and talking, and then like showing no respect. Like when you're in a job, somebody's just like, "What are you doing?" Like same for me. If I went somewhere and I'm talking to a coach, and doesn't matter what coach, what level, how many wins they have, how many losses they have, but just out of like true respect, you're talking to them like they clearly know what they're doing. Like if I just went and I just talk about everything I do and how or we do this, we do that, we do that, and you're not talking to other people. It's like it just comes back to being human. Like I think so much to do on like with the electronics nowadays that it's hard to be human. But like yeah, kids talk. I mean, so many different personalities now. Like I have this like back in the you just said it's hilarious you say that. Like back in the day, if we were just yapping away as a coach is talking to us, because that's how you learn. Like, some guys learn that way. Like they'll repeat what you said, or they'll be talk like, oh, yeah, 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 or they'll yeah, yeah, yeah. If I did that when I played, coach would just be like, just start running. So you just sat there and you're like, listen, and you're like, yep. And you just move on. You might not have taken in any of the information the guy said, but you're like, back then the respect was just like, you just look him in the eye and you say, yes, sir. And you move on and you get back in your line. You turn the kid, Next year, you're like, "What the hell did he just say? I have no idea what he just said." But now it's like
Just don't mess up. That's pretty
yeah,
much what you just said.
exactly, yeah. And, now I have his freshman, I love him to death, and he's the most coachable kid in the world, but, like, he'll go a mile a minute as you're, like, trying to tell him how to do something, and I'll be the one that's just sitting there and then be like,
What did you just say?
"No," I'll just sit there and we end, and I'm like, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You actually understand what I just said?" You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Dude, it's totally fine if it doesn't make sense, just, like, tell me." And then he'll be like, "Yeah, it didn't make sense." I'm like, "Okay, let's go." Like, don't just say, "Yeah," like, yeah, but he does it so respectfully that, like, yeah, you're like, "You sure you got that?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm like, "Positive?" And he's like, "Well, no, now that you say it, no, it doesn't make sense." And I'm like, "Okay, okay, like, let's readjustment. Let's make it make sense, shall we?" You know what I mean? It's okay to talk, but you're so right, man. Kids learn so different now, like, and it's strange to say because I don't feel like I'm super old. I mean, even being in baseball for 13 college baseball, pro baseball for 13 years, it's changed. It's changed a ton. And it's just because, now you have Twitter and stuff. So like a kid will come in and be like, I saw this on Twitter. And I'm like, all right, let's see how it works. I'm good with it. Like, I don't give a crap. All you're doing is the information's now flowing to you rather than coming through me and then going to you. Like now it's just, I don't get to vet it. You know what I mean? Like I was just saying, I'm watching videos to see how every day I'm trying to figure out how we can do something different to be better. And now it's just the kids can do it on a Tuesday night sitting in his dorm. He just goes on Twitter and it's all of a sudden he's got 6 drills he wants to do. And it's just like, yeah, they're great. Like I'm good with it. But you have to explain to me, like, why are you doing this? Like, don't just do it to do it. Like, why are you doing this? Can this help your swing? Like, can this help you feel better? Do you like this? And like, a lot of times kids come with that stuff. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's try it. See if it works. Like, see if I like it. And then sometimes it's just like you said, it's just like, you're like, all right, yeah, man, go ahead. See how it works. It's like, it's kind of nonsense. Or like, you just don't understand the why in it. And I think that nowadays, sometimes you need to have the kids just explain to you, like, why are you doing this? And then, like, so at least they know. So they don't just pick it off Twitter and then do it. And you're like, well, you're doing it completely wrong. Like the guy's saying the right way to do this drill, you're just doing it the complete wrong way. So you just need to understand why.
I mean, I get caught. I don't even coach college baseball anymore, but I get caught in the fact of like, I'll watch kids that like, they're either in the portal or high school kids that are trying to get recruited. And I'll watch their swings and I just sit there and and I look at it and I'm like, the guys you're drawing attention to are, like you said, you could be a teacher man guy. Right? Well, great. Your recruiting can be very hard just from the way you hit. And that might not be a bad thing, but some guys won't even recruit you because you swing that way. And I think a lot of kids don't put the value into that of like, a coach ain't going to watch you if you swing like teacher man, if they don't believe in it. Not saying every coach doesn't, but there are some coaches that I know that will directly tweet at teacher man of like, dude, this doesn't work.
It's crazy part is just like everything in hitting is just like, it's in understanding what the person's like actually talking about. You know what I mean? Like, cause it's like, stuff he says, like, I get like some guys watch that and you're like, yeah, you're not understanding what he's saying in this point. Like, I'm not even, I wouldn't even label myself as any sort of like hitting guru or like a guy that follows 18, like that I'm a teacher man guy or I'm a whatever man guy. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's just like, I feel like the misconception comes is when guys try to do that, like when they just try to do stuff that they see without like actually understanding how to do it. Like, it's like, yeah, no, like when he's swinging straight up, it's like you're not understanding the movement he's trying to do. Like, I agree with it? No, because like it gets lost in translation for some of these kids. Like some kids will see things on Twitter and just come and start doing it. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I'll be like,
Well,
what's your
it's
reason?
like when teacher man explains Judge hitting. Like Judge does swing like him, but at the same time, Judge stays inside the baseball. But Judge is also 6'9". So his bat,
He's
but
also
his bat,
Aaron Judge.
right. He's also Aaron Judge, but like he's explaining one thing to these people and kids are listening, which is great because
Yeah.
it's giving you a different thing. But Judge is doing a totally different thing than what he's doing. And he breaks it down in a video of him explaining it, but it's the total opposite of what he teaches.
I mean, could you imagine if I walked around in 2013 and started trying to teach everybody to hit like Hobby? I mean, the dude couldn't hit a slider, but like he was just, but then there'd be times where he'd hit balls and you're just like, how does he do that? I'll never forget the hit guy. It was a different, it wasn't J. Rose, somebody else who's just like, he's a 1%. Like that dude can just do stuff that you can't do. So I could teach him all the stuff I want to teach him, but I mean, he was 18, 19 years old. And I remember like his swing was like, you think it's wild now. Like his front leg used to hit his elbow. And they were like, we got to lower the leg kick just a little. And I'm like, just a little? Like, you might, that thing's almost at his face. Like it's El Duque, but swinging. And like, he couldn't hit a slider. And then he did for a little while there. And it's like, imagine if you walked around and you tried to teach kids, like, hey, this guy is one of the best hitters in baseball. Like, yeah, there's things to emulate. But like, if you're like, hey, go watch him hit, it's like, yeah, I can't do what that guy can do.
Well, it's like people, and I don't like talking about myself, but it's like people are like, you can hit a home run so far and there's topspin on the ball. How is that possible? I don't know. I just hit. Like it's, but it's like people ask you these questions and it's like, I have no idea. To this day, I can't tell you why I can hit a 400-foot home run with topspin. Like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know how. It just happened. But like,
It's funny you say that. I'll never forget. We were like, man, it was when KB came up with it my second year with the Cubs. We had just drafted Chris Bryant. So he comes up and he like topspin the home run for like 380. So he was like, how's he do that? I was like, I mean, because he's just like a freak. Like you don't, it's like he's trying to topspin the ball. Like, but it was one of those things where it was out. It was something I've never seen in my life. Like, it was one of those moments where I was like, dang, man, this really, this dude is different. Like when him and Hobby like hit a ball or when they would do BP or like anything, you're just, and the same thing with college yesterday. You're just different. And like, he was facing this kid that was throwing 99 like 100 miles per hour. Had no idea where the hell it was going. He threw it at 99 and it went out in a heartbeat. And it was like, looked like a dying slide. It was insane. And it went 350 feet. And it's just like, yeah, you can't teach that. That's something that's just unteachable, man. That's just like, you watch it and you're just like, that dude's different. Like he's just built different.
well, it's like I was at practice yesterday and one of the kids, it's on our 15-year-old team. They go, what's the farthest ball you've ever hit? And I was like, if I explain this to you, you're going to have no idea what any of this means. And I'm like, the furthest ball by measurable distance is 540 feet at Holy Cross. But people, I'm like, unless you know where Holy Cross is, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. Zero idea.
Who was I talking to? It might have been Goss. I was talking about that. I think we're at Holy Cross. We were at their field and I was like, did you imagine? Remember Tower hit a ball over that? I was like, and you're like looking at it from home plate. You're like, there's no way.
The funniest part of that story is the kids that I played summer ball with. One played at post, and then two kids were, I think it was NIU, so Northern Illinois.
Yep.
And they were measuring it on Google Maps because my parents have the ball at the house. Like it's all torn up because they got run over by cars. Like one of my high school football buddies' dads got out of his car on the highway and picked it up, like in the middle lane. I'm just like, I mean, it's just like, but that goes back to like the fun memories of playing the game. It's like at Pierce, it was like between Octave, Friday, whoever it was like, all right, even Livornia when they were there, it was like, who's gonna be the first one to hit over the clubhouse today MVP? Like, just like that was just the fun of it.
Dude, it was fun. That some of the BP.
And like how many cars you could hit in the parking lot.
That's like you guys. I don't know if Ingwe was coaching when you were there.
No, it was before.
Bro, Derek hit a baseball, and I mean, people. I mean, I've been around a lot of BP. He used to hit it, and it looked like a golf ball was just set into orbit when he hit it. And it was the funkiest swing in the world, dude. It was like, I remember when I first saw him, and they were like, yeah, this guy's like the best. When I first got there, like, yeah, Derek's like one of the best players. I was like, get out of here. Like, like, he is not the person you look at on that roster. Like, this is,
He has, doesn't he have pretty much every record?
Best hitter I've ever seen in my life. Like, he was insanity. And BP used to just look like he was hitting golf balls. And then he's so smart. He's like kind of a nerd. And he's just like, I love Derek to death, man. He was one of my roommates and he was just a freak and he would do stuff that you're just like, what? Like I remember one day we were just sitting in Lakeview and he comes walking in with a med ball, a weighted vest, and like water shoes on and he's soaking wet. I'm like, Iggy, what were you just doing? He's like, oh, I was just doing a workout in the lake. I was like fully, I was like, when you say in the lake, do you mean fully submerged? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. I guess I'm going to the lake then. Like this kid's hitting 400, I guess. guess I'm going for a swim in the weighted vest and some water shoes to see if it translates. If this dude's doing it, he's hitting 380. I turned to one of my buddies. I said, "I guess I'm going for a swim later. Like, gonna figure something out."
All right. Last two questions of what's your coaching philosophy? How would you describe the culture of your program?
I mean, it's still early for me, kind of just getting in. Like, this was the first full season. Is just, I mean, caring about one another. We're still trying to get over the hump and be a better team, win more games, things like that. But as far as just the culture, I think the biggest thing is like the guys know how important accountability is. Because I'll be the first person to tell you if at the end of the game, if I didn't do something right, I didn't do something right. I'll take ownership of it. If I mess something up, first thing I'll say is, "Hey guys, it's on me. I did this or I did that." Like I think the biggest thing for me is just being accountable. And I think caring about each other and being a family. I think those are the things that we really care about.
Pierce ways, baby.
Yep.
Last question is what are the non-negotiables you instill in your team?
Non-negotiables, accountability. I think I know it sounds like I just keep saying the same stuff, but everybody has to be accountable top to bottom. Myself, the assistants, seniors, captains, everybody accountable. Accountable. You need to be able to and be okay with it. I think that's the biggest thing is guys are afraid. Like I'm all good with the culture of like, yeah, my bad, my bad. Like, but do you actually understand? Like, are you taking accountability or are you just saying my bad? Like I'll say my bad, but like these guys will know like I mean my bad. Like it's gonna if I mess something up, it's gonna eat me up. And I'm
I
gonna be the
think
first
that
person to tell guys that, like, if I mess up, I'm like, "That's on me. That's on me." And, like, just but also not feeling sorry for yourself, So those are non-negotiables is being accountable because then that means you're accountable to your teammates. So, like, if you screw up and not even just on the field, like, if you do something off the field so you can't play or you're not getting the grades you need to and you're bringing down the team GPA, like, that's the accountability that you need to have because, like, I tell these guys, like, not all most of our guys aren't going to play pro ball. Like 1% of the guys in college baseball play pro ball. So you need to be accountable. So when you go in a real world, like the real world doesn't just chew you up and spit you out because that's what's going to happen if you aren't accountable. Like if you go out there and like you mess up a project in your job, you can't be like, well, he didn't give me enough time. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like you need to just be accountable, get your stuff done and be able to look to the person to your left and right and be like, I did everything I can for you guys. And that's kind of non-negotiable. I just want guys that take ownership, man, because this is their program. Like they're the ones out there doing all the work. I'm not doing anything. So just having ownership and being accountable.
I think the point we can end with too is it's like kids need to understand that the my bad of a fifth year senior shortstop and a freshman is two different words.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think and again, kids are young and they understand, but like I just think of our playing time. Like if you said my bad, whether it didn't matter who you were, like it wasn't a good look. But like now we want more kids to be vocal, right? So we want all these kids to be able to essentially speak their mind to a
Yeah.
certain degree, but it's like a word of advice for a freshman going into college. My bad from you is not going to mean anything if you haven't been in the program. You haven't been there long enough. It's nothing
No,
against you.
that's true to an extent, but I do like to have guys like, if they're like, yo, coach, that's on me. Like just the way you deliver it, I can tell if you like actually believe it. So I'm good with a freshman coming in the minute he's in here. And if he screws up, like, hey, that's on me. If it's off the field, like there's a younger guy last year who's a sophomore. And I always just tell our guys, if you screw up, call me. The hardest phone call to make is going to be with me. And then after that, we're going to like deal with the consequences of things. And like some kid, I'm just got in trouble for something. It wasn't even a big deal, but it was enough that he called me and it was like, yeah. And he's like, that's totally on me. And it's like, yeah, no, I know you're good. I'm not going to pound you about it. Like that's just because when
But
I know you actually
you
feel
can
it,
tell by the tone of
yeah.
their voice.
And when I know they know like at what's coming and like even hit to his credit, like he was like, whatever you decide, whatever I got to do, I'm with it. And it's just like, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just, that's the biggest thing. It's like kids being able to just be like, yeah, it's on me. And like, that's what goes back to accountability. You can tell if they actually mean it. Like if a kid just says my bad, but keeps doing the same thing. It's like, did you really mean it? Like,
Own your actions. That's what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, that's a good way of saying it. No, I like that. I like that. Cause that's kind of like, even yesterday I was watching Coastal, their coach talk about that getting tossed. The first thing he says, our program's about like we say own it, and I was like, I love that because that's just it's a great way of saying it. Just own it, like, and that's the same thing as accountability. It's just a different way of saying it. Like own it. If you did it, own it, and like just go with it. Like there's so many different ways to take how he says it, but I really like that too.
All right, Cody, that's all I have for you. I want to thank you for joining the podcast today and wish you and the Anchorman the best in the future.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem.